The global economy is on course for its fastest growth in more than half a century this year. But the road ahead looks very different depending on where you are, in part because of the rollout of vaccines.
Vaccine policy is an economic policy, and that only vaccinating everybody everywhere would get us out of the risk of this mutation.
Growing vaccine nationalism is hitting the world's most disadvantaged nations the hardest, in what the head of the World Health Organization is calling a grotesque supply chasm between rich and poor nations. The hope of global solidarity in fighting COVID-19 pandemic, it's waning, as many of the poorest nations continue to wait for millions of doses.
No longer can we expect poor countries to stand in a queue waiting to get vaccines. I mean, the fact that the WHO DG said that 70% of vaccine doses today have been administered by 10 countries. The inequity of access is glaring.
The world's biggest vaccine manufacturer, India's Serum Institute, is a key supplier to COVAX. That's the program through which 2 billion vaccine doses are supposed to be distributed to middle and low-income countries, many of which have no ability to sign procurement contracts on their own. Now plans are to pare back these 2 billion shipments to tend to a new wave of domestic infections. Poorer countries are being left behind, while developed nations such as the UK power ahead, with most of the adult population having already received a vaccine. In the US, well, it's celebrating almost 170 million shots in arms, though it is pledging to do more outside of its borders.
The world has to come together to bring the COVID pandemic to an end everywhere. And for that to happen, the United States must act, and we must lead.
While developed countries are making strides, inequality continues to build, and the full impact on growth is yet to be felt, with the fate of underdeveloped countries resting on fiscal support from governments, the actions of central banks, and crucially, the distribution of vaccines.